The biggest is finally here. The massive fight we've all been waiting for. They tried to take it away from us, but they couldn't. They really couldn't. I told my friends, I told my co-host, Josh, I said it's going to happen because essentially, money talks. There's too much money involved in this fight for it not to happen. Too much ramifications, legacy-wise, for it not to happen. Essentially, Spence and Crawford could not get away with not fighting each other. Same way I always said Pacquiao and Mayweather will fight for the similar reasons. They cannot get away with not fighting each other. Similarly, like I believe as well, Fury and AJ, same thing, they will fight because they cannot get away and there's too much money on the line. As long as they're still viable fighters. And you can argue Wilder as well, even though obviously the time timer's kind of running out on that one. But obviously, this is the biggest. Spence, Crawford, Spence. The battle for pound number one, the battle for undisputed in the welterweight division. Two superstars, two top 5 pound for pound boxers, undefeated. Combined record, I believe, Spence is 28-0, Crawford is 39. That's, I believe, 67-0 with 52 knockouts. Crawford got 30 knockouts, Spence got 22 knockouts. And this is essentially styles make fights. Their styles mesh so well. Crawford being the elite counter puncher, fleet of foot, ring IQ, switcher, and Spence being the technical pressure fighter. He applies pressure, he pours it on, no room to breathe, no maneuvering space. He's always on your neck, he's on your chest, attacking the body heavily, and it meshes well. It simply cannot be a great fight, providing they both stick to what they do normally and, do what they're going to say and, obviously come back to the middle of the ring and, do what they do. But I'm going to leave my prediction to the end of this video, who I think is going to win. But I'm going to, break down the fight a little bit. I'm going to start with the first, obviously, the incumbent unified champion, the A side in this fight, that being Errol Spence. Like we said, 28-0. He's more of a puncher, boxer, pressure fighter. Like I said, he's a technical pressure fighter. He's the big fundamentals on point. Like Tim Duncan, for the guys who know basketball, like I got this jersey on. 34, Houston. You guys should know Houston Rockets. That's the one, the only. Hakeem Olajuwon, Nigeria's greatest ever athlete, in my opinion. Africa's greatest ever athlete, arguably. But yeah, who I believe is greater than Tim Duncan. But that's a story for different day. We're not talking about boxing right now. But yeah, the big fundamental. And some people see Crawford as like the flashier guy. Some people have said LeBron. Some people could say Kobe. But, we'll see. Is Crawford a Kobe or is it a Jordan? Because there's a stark difference. Tim Duncan got 5. Kobe got 5. Championship Jordan got 6. But Jordan, number 1 all time, in my opinion, most sensible people's opinion. And Kobe is obviously a facsimile of Jordan. So a lot of people argue Tim Duncan is greater than Jordan. So is Crawford going to be a Kobe? Is he going to be a Jordan? We'll see in basically less than 8 hours. But yeah, for Errol Spence, the jab is a centerpiece to his offense. It starts off everything. It starts with the firm, ramrodding, right-handed jab that leads off all his offense. Like I said, he leads off his sharp 1-2 to the body, to the head. He jabs well to the body, jabs well to the head. And, it's his inroads for him to get inside, which he's going to have to do against Crawford. He has a longer reach, 74 inches to 72. It's going to be the start for him to break down his opponents as he's done so far in the past, to lead up to his excellent body attacks and, lead up to his high activity, his high octane pressure type of fighting. More on Spence, his guard manipulation is elite. Like when you watch the actual fight analysis, the breakdown, you see what this guy does. Like I said, he's a much better fighter than people give him credit for. People think he's just big and, pressure, but it's educated pressure. It's calculated pressure. It's intelligent pressure. Especially when he's inside the guard manipulation, he puts his head on your chest. He kind of hides his shots. His head will be there 1 minute, his head will be there the other minute. Next, he'll be replaced by a left hook or a right jab or uppercut that's coming your way. And this is what really helps him to break down his opponents, as I just said. And it really helps him to beat you up and beat you down. Some people call him the eye collector. If you look at Ugas, you look at Carl Brook, Danny Garcia, those 3 top elite fighters, look at all their eyes after Spence fought them. They were all bashed up. He's accurate with his punches. You know, he's very precise, and he does. Hey, that's why it's called the Eye Collector. One of his many monikers. You know, self-named monikers, some of them, but also calls himself the biggest, the big fish. Most importantly, the truth. Put him in the dirt. Man down. He has so many monikers, and you know, he's out of the ring. He's a down-to-earth guy, so it seems. You know, in his soft-spoken Texan way, and it's not very hard to dislike him when you get to know him, watch his videos, obviously. But there are ways to not like him. Obviously, he's had controversy outside the ring, you know, with his major crash, which, you know, essentially, thank God he's still alive, because I don't know how he survived that. Like he said straight after the crash, he's a savage. He might just well be. He's kind of the Terminator. He just walks through punches, walking through life. But, you know, as I say, a cat only has 9 lives. And how many lives does he have left in this fight? Because in a moment of truth against someone like Crawford, who's lived a much better lifestyle outside the ring, apart from, you know, when he got shot in the head after a dice game when he was hanging around with the wrong crowd. But since then, there's been no major incidents outside the ring, and he's not really taken any sort of beating, not been in any sort of tough fights per se, like the Sean Porter fight. You can argue the first half of the Kell Brook fight. So even though Crawford is older, he's 36 or turning 36, so Spence is 33, and he's fought more fights, his body, at least on paper, is fresher. If we've been 100 on it, keeping that buck, he hasn't been through wars in and out of the ring, and in the moment of truth, it could show. But in my opinion, Spence's resume is greater. He's fought guys at their heights or at greater highs at the time compared to the time when Crawford fought them. If you look at when he fought Kell Brook, yes, Spence fought him straight after Golovkin, but he was still the champion of the welterweight division, still the IBF belt holder, and he was still undefeated in the welterweight division, and he didn't have that much damage apart from the beating he took from Golovkin. If you fought, that was in 2017, I believe. You fast forward to 2021 when Kell Brook fought Terence Crawford. Totally different story. Crawford, Spence had been fighting at 154. You know, he's been long known to struggle to make the weight. His 3 fights before the Crawford fight, and you know, he wasn't even with his main trainer, Dominic Ingle, one of the best trainer Britain has to produce or offer right now, and so he was always going to essentially lose. Look at when also Spence fought Porter. Porter was the WBC belt holder. Yes, he lost to Kell Brook, I believe that was, and Keith Thurman. Those were his only losses on his record. However, he was still a much more viable fighter than when he fought Terence Crawford. That's no shade against Terence Crawford, that's just the facts. And if you look at Terence Crawford when he fought him, yes, Porter gave him a tough fight for at least the first 7-8 rounds. But hey, after the fight, you know, he ran out of gas. His dad, Kenny Porter, threw a towel in. And these are things you don't associate with Sean Porter. Sean Porter, win, lose or draw, he's always going to give you a tough fight. And after that, he shortly retired. So in my opinion, if you look at it objectively, there's no way you can say that Porter was as good as when he fought Spence. He wasn't as ready. He wasn't as, you know, he's closer to his prime. He was more far removed from his prime than when he fought Spence. But yeah, the injuries, the eye injury as well, the rest of the injury, how much wear and tear will that take its toll? Spence has long been known for having drinking issues as well. He struggles to make the weight. And, you know, in the moment of truth, this could potentially all tell. And, you know, more on his weaknesses as a fighter for, you know, my observation, Spence has a tendency to lunge. A guy that lunges against an elite counter puncher, both hands, as Crawford, a surgical, precise puncher, power puncher. It's a recipe for disaster, if we're being honest. His footwork is not the greatest per se. He's more heavy-footed. He doesn't really fight well per se, going backwards compared to Crawford. So if Crawford was to apply the pressure on him, it'll be interesting to see how well Spence does. And yeah, those are the things that Spence does well and not so well. But if we flip it onto Terence Crawford, like I said, 39-0, 30 KOs, a boxer puncher, can do it all, switch hits, power on both hands. He confuses his opponents. He has the highest IQ arguably out there. Not to say Spence's IQ is not high, because it is a lot higher than people give him credit for. But I would say Crawford has a slightly higher IQ. And essentially, you know, a bit like Floyd Mayweather, he downloads information for the first 3-4 rounds and essentially uploads beatings. Downloads information and uploads beatings. And like I said before, counter puncher extraordinaire. In the welterweight division, he's ran through the division. Not the most elite competition, especially at the time. He's knocked out everybody or TKO'd everybody in I believe there's 8 fights, maybe 9 fights. He's had the welterweight division, from Jeff Horn to Mean Machine to Joseph Benavidez to Amir Khan, another guy not at his best at the time before him, Brooke, Porter, the list goes on. But yeah, mentality wise, Crawford is a beast. Like, he sometimes believes himself too much, more on that later, but mentality wise, he just has that dog in him. Not to say Spence doesn't have that dog in him, because he does. We've seen it outside of the ring. Maybe his greatest test has come outside of the ring, but Crawford has that killer instinct to take you out, per se, quicker than necessarily what Spence will do. And Crawford essentially is one of the best finishers in the game, in my opinion, probably, especially right now, might be the best finisher in the game. Once he gets you hurt, he goes in for the kill and inevitably gets you up and out of there. But back on his resume, who is Crawford's greatest win? Some may say Gamboa at 135. Gamboa was undefeated at the time. It was a pound-for-pound fighter. Some may say Victor Postal. But aside from that, yes, he has decent names. Like I said, Khan, Brooke, Porter, but they were all far removed from their primes. So, like I said, this fight had to happen because Crawford and Spence need each other. They don't necessarily have a signature win per se. They don't have a win that you can't dispute or kind of tear down. You know what I mean? Even when Spence beat Kell Brook, we could say he just came back from a beating of Golovkin, damaged his eye. Porter was already defeated. These guys are both undefeated, so both these wins you can't dispute. This is a marquee win. You're fighting against two top 5 pound for pound or top 7 at worst pound for pound fighters going at it. I mean, what more can you say? But lastly, on Crawford, like I said, it gets maybe too emotional, and this is maybe the wrong fight for him to get too emotional, to believe in himself a bit too much, where he wants to prove that that was wrong, saying, I'm big, I can, be on the inside as much. Because if he does that, it's coming into Errol Spence's kitchen. He had the superior reach advantage, like I said, 74 inches to 72, and he needs to use that to his advantage. Spence has to make up the ground, has to come inside. As he comes inside, catch him. If he doesn't do it with feints, body feints, head feints, foot feints, hand feints, if he's not doing it as smartly as he can do, which he will need to, catch him, both hands. You can knock him down and probably get him up and out of there. But we will see. But Crawford, like I said, he does get hit a bit too much for my liking. Maybe he believes in himself too much, especially early on. And it takes a while to get started. Spence, from bell 1, first 10 seconds, he's right there. First round, he's right there, establishing his jab, getting to work, chipping away at you, touching, wearing you down. And like we say, what I say, attack the body and the head will fall. And not to dispute or discredit Crawford is a good body puncher as well. He's knocked out a few guys to the body, like in Dongo and things like that. So he will do that as well. And one thing we haven't really seen against Spence, not many people have taken it to his body as much. I mean, nobody likes body punches. It's the best way to stop anybody, to slow them down. It's just the best way, It saps energy, it saps stamina, it tests your conditioning to the max, it breaks you down. So it's the absolute best way. But we will see. But yeah, finally, on my prediction for this fight, my heart says Errol Spence, and my head says Terence Crawford. I love them both. I slightly prefer and like Errol Spence a bit more, but my head does lead me to bet decisions more than my heart does. And for that reason, and like I said, for my boxing principles, what I know of boxing and my boxing upbringing, I've always lent to the fighter, he takes care of himself better out of the ring, more of a counter puncher. I love counter punches. You can ask any of my friends who used to play boxing games back in the day. I adopted the counter punching style. Also, on the other hand, I did adopt a style that goes to your body, saps your engine, wears you down. But Crawford, like I said, does do both. Spence is not really a counter puncher like that, per se. But we will see. And yeah, like I said, the boxing principles, it leans to Terence Crawford ever so slightly. If you were to ask me for numbers, like I'm a numbers guy, numerical splits, I'd say 52% to Terence Crawford, 48% to Errol Spence. It's essentially as 50-50 as it comes. If you look at the betting odds last time I checked yesterday, it was 54% likelihood for Crawford to win, 50 and 46 for Spence. So I'm just off per se. But we will see. But most importantly, make sure you get in the comments, let us know. Like I said, just upload just in time, like and subscribe. Follow us on all socials. That'd be the Instagram, that'd be the Twitter. And we the TMG boys, listen to us audibly, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Got more content coming for you guys. Like I said, we're TMG Mellow out here. and let's get it. I'm ready.